La kermés es como la de este.
Apúrate. Y yo Oye.
Claro que no me inventé nada. Ay, claro que no.
No te hagas así.
Más.
Hello guys, good morning everybody. How you doing today? How are you guys?
Fine, thank you.
Okay, I'm glad to hear you guys. Today we are going to check the activity for the Self-Access Center, and then we are going to see the last part of Unit 5, okay? So let's start. If you have any question or doubt, you can tell me in the chat. So let's see. For homework, you have to answer a worksheet about modal verbs for the Self-Access Center. So here we have the modal verbs. I'm going to share it with you. Here, it says complete the sentences with the correct modal verb. And the first one is, you eat a heavy meal before you fly. What is the modal verb that you use in the first sentence? It says, all of these exercises, guys, in this worksheet are related to traveling, okay? So the first one, you eat a heavy meal before you fly. What is the modal verb that you can use in this case? Is it an advice? Is it a strong obligation? What is that? What is the modal verb that you write in letter A? Anybody wants to tell me? What is the modal verb that you use, guys? In number one? Is it an advice? A heavy meal before you fly, I think is...
Should?
Okay, you shouldn't, in this case, in negative, because if you eat heavy meal, maybe you can have problems with your stomach during the flight. So you shouldn't eat a heavy meal before you fly, in my opinion, okay? What about letter B? Passengers switch off all electric devices. When you are on the plane, they ask you to switch off all electronic devices. This is very important when you travel by plane. So what is the modal verb that you use?
Have to.
Would be have to, yes. You have to switch off all electronic devices. Can be have to or can be must. Both are possible in this case, okay? Must or have to. Because have to and must are for obligation. You have to do it. What about letter C? You wear loose, comfortable clothes and shoes for your flight. This is another recommendation. So what do you say?
Should.
Yeah, okay, it's a good idea. You should wear loose, comfortable clothes. Yeah, but there are some people, some women, for example, that they wear high heels, but that is not a good idea when you travel, okay? You need to be very comfortable. What about letter D? Passengers smoke during takeoff and landing. This is very important and it's necessary. So what do you say? Passengers, this is prohibited, guys. It's prohibited. So what do you say?
Mustn't.
Yeah, right. Because it's prohibited. So a strong prohibition in this case. You mustn't smoke. Right. What about letter E? It says take a short walk around the cabin on a long haul flight. Take a short walk. I mean, if you get tired sitting on the flight, what do you say? It's a possibility. What do you say?
Can.
When we are talking about possibilities, we say can, right? Okay. What about letter F? It says drink too much alcohol. This is also very important. So on the flight, on the plane, sometimes you are offered wine, tequila, and whiskey. But what is the modal verb that you can use here?
Shouldn't.
Yeah, you shouldn't. You can, but you shouldn't. This is very important. This is, in my opinion, is not a good idea that you drink too much alcohol. And letter G, large pets go into the passenger's cabin. So in this case, we are talking about permission. We are talking about permission. It says large pets go into passenger's cabin. What is that?
Can't.
Because we are talking about permission. Can. Yes, all right. So we have here can't. Next, we have passengers label their luggage correctly. What is it an advice or is it a strong recommendation? What is that? So we say passengers must label their luggage correctly or passengers should label their luggage correctly. I think it's a strong recommendation, so we use must. Otherwise, your luggage can be lost if you don't label it correctly. What about letter I? It says, I pay in dollars for duty-free items. Is it a question? Yes. I paid in dollars for duty-free items. So this is a question. What do we say?
Can.
Can I pay in dollars? Can I pay? Well, can I, when we use can I, is to ask. We can use can for asking for permission or any kind of requirement or request. We can use can for request, okay? For example, can I use your mobile? Can I have torta. But in this case, you are not asking for requests. Maybe you are asking for advice. So if we are asking for advice, we use should.
Should.
Pay in dollars for duty-free items. Should. Because you know that in the airport, there are some duty-free shops. And then sometimes you don't know if you can pay by dollars or by another currency. Now, what about the last one? Cabin crew stay calm during an emergency. So what is that?
Have to.
Yeah? What is it? Cabin crew stay calm during an emergency. This is very important. That the cabin crew stay calm during an emergency. So what is that?
Have to.
They have to, is it a rule? Well, yeah, maybe. They have to stay calm. Yes. Yeah, otherwise they cannot be in panic in front of the passengers, right? Now we have match the halves of sentences. And here we have, you can get to, you could go buy, you can also buy a. You might want to change money, you can purchase coach tickets, you might want to travel, you might not want to travel, you can have, and you might want to go hiking. So for example, here we have the choices. Buy coach to Krakow because it's cheaper. Or in the bureau, they charge in Krakow's railway station. Ticket from the train conductor, but there is a charge by coach because it often takes longer than the train. So what do we have for letter A? You can get to. So what do you say? You can get to, maybe letter A matches number A because it says you can get to Krakow from any Polish city or town. You can get to Krakow. Puedes llegar a Cracovia desde alguna ciudad polaca o desde algún pueblo. So you can get to Krakow. Let's say that letter A goes with number 1. So here you can say letter A goes with number 8. What about letter B? You could go by indicates transportation. You can go by, so what do we say? By train, because it's faster than coach or car. So maybe letter B goes with number 5. So letter B goes with 5. Letter C, you can get, what do we have? Tickets from the train station or from the Orbis travel office. So we have here number 6 in letter C. They are talking about possibility, okay? When you say you can, you could, we use those modal verbs, remember, for possibility. Another is you can also buy a ticket from the train conductor, but there is a surcharge. So you can buy a ticket that is letter D goes with number 3. And then you might want to change money. You might is also for possibility in the future. You might want to change money. Tal vez quieras cambiar dinero. You might want to change money. What can we say? In the bureau de charge in Krakow's railway station. So that is number 2. For a possibility in the future, remember that we use might or may. What about the next one? It says, you might want to travel. No, you can purchase coach tickets. You can purchase coach tickets. What do we say? Well, let's leave it at the end. You might want to travel by coach to Krakow because it's cheaper. Could be. Letter G, you might want to travel by coach. Okay, let's say that letter G goes with number 1. You might want to travel by coach to Krakow because it's cheaper. You might not want to travel. We can say by coach because it often takes long than the train. So letter H is 4, is number 4. And you can have, we can say have, remember that we use it with the meaning of possession, but also for meals. So letter I goes with number 10. You can have lunch in a cafe in the main square. So we are giving recommendations, okay? We are giving recommendations in this case. So we say number 10. And you might want to go hiking in the Carpathian Mountains. The Carpathian Mountains, so that is Mountains is number 9. Okay, so we have number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The missing one is number 7. So what is number 7, letter F? You can purchase coach tickets from the coach station or from private coach operators. That is number 7, guys. So as you can see, in this list, we have a list of recommendations. And that is what you have to do in the last activity of Unit 5. You have to give some recommendations to some people that want to travel in Mexico, okay? So this can be used as an example for you to give recommendations. Remember that for possibility, you can use can or could. For possibility in the future, you can use might or may. And these are the ones. And for advice, as we have seen, you can use should. And if it is very strong, you use must. And if it is a prohibition, you use mustn't. And if it is not necessary, you say don't have to. And now here we have other recommendations, and here we illustrate this recommendation with an image. So it says, match the sentences with the pictures. You must fasten your seatbelt. Okay, guys, so what is the sign that illustrates the first? You must fasten your seatbelt. This is a recommendation, a strong recommendation that you must follow when you travel. So this is, okay, I think this is the sign in this case. So let's check. Next, you can't smoke on this flight, guys. You can't smoke. What is this one, okay? This is a non-smoking flight. So we use this one. Now it says, you can't use your mobile phones. You can use your mobile phone. That is very easy. So we have here, you can use your mobile phone. And then it says, you mustn't inflate your life jacket. You mustn't inflate your life jacket because it's just in case of emergency, guys. So we have this. This is the life jacket. Next, you should take off high-heeled shoes in case of emergency. High-heeled shoes in case of emergency. We have the high-heeled shoes, guys, in case of emergency. Next, you should put your excess hand luggage under the seat in front of you. These are some of the recommendations that we hear on the plane. You have to put your hand luggage in the overhead locker. This is another recommendation. We have to, because it's a rule. You mustn't block the emergency exits. It's prohibited, guys. So you mustn't. This is another recommendation that we hear when we are traveling by plane. Now, you can't take any pets aboard. So we have the picture of a Chihuahua, and here we have the pet. And you can't carry any dangerous items in your luggage, like the knife. Here we have is prohibited. You are not permitted, okay? Remember that can be used for actions that you are not permitted. You are not permitted to carry any dangerous items in your luggage. And that's it. We have already seen this activity for Self-Access Center. So now the activity is open. You just have to go to the community of the activities of Self-Access Center and you can upload it already, okay guys? Remember that the activities for the Self-Access Center are open. All of them are open. Until the 31st of May, you will find them opened. So far, this is the first activity for second partial exam. So you have to do it. And so let's go now to Seduca. I'm going to share with you Seduca screen so that you can see what you are supposed to do for the second part of Unit 5. Okay, guys, for the second part of Unit 5, you have modern morals. So let's go to modern morals. And it says, in this section, you will read about problems that are caused due to divergent opinions and different behaviors among cultures. So we are going to talk about different situations in which people are involved when they travel, okay? So this is the unit about. And then after that, we have a reading. It says, quite often being a part of a community may become hard, especially when it becomes divergent points of view. which some cases cause problems. The Times newspaper has a section called Modern Morals, where readers share about their problems or difficult situations they are facing, and other readers give them advice. So here we have, read the problems in Readers Ask and match them with the possible replies. So this is an article, guys, for you to read about the situations people go through when they are in a different place, in a different community, okay? So for example, the first one says, how should I deal with my difficult and disagreeable neighbor? He is in the habit of dumping his garden and waste along the public sidewalk between our two houses, okay? And here we have some choices. It says, you must call Crime Stoppers and report him. You don't have to give your name. I think you are allowed other benefits. You should check online. And you don't have to be like New Yorkers just because you are in New York. You have to add with self-control. I don't think you should confront him. It's not only wrong, it's illegal. You are not allowed to do this. Not only should you lie sometimes, you often have to. You must tell your neighbor this. It's the only right thing to do. So the problem is, how should I deal with my difficult and disagreeable neighbor? He is in the habit of dumping his garden waste along the public sidewalk between our two houses. Maybe we can use letter D or letter G. We don't know. Maybe you have to act with self-control. I don't think you should confront him. Or you must tell your neighbor this, it's the only right thing to do. So which one would you put in this situation, guys? You have to act with self-control. I don't think you should confront him, or you must tell your neighbor this. It's the only right thing to do. Maybe it's letter G, we don't know. We can check it at the end, okay? Because now we have a lot of possibilities. Let's do number 2. Is it okay to greet people you don't know with how are you? In California, my home is considered friendly, but here in New York, some people react with a cold look. Should I be less friendly in my greetings? Okay, so in California, you can say, how are you to everybody, even strangers. But in New York, it's a strange thing to do, guys. So it says, should I be less friendly in my greetings? That is the question. Should I be less friendly in my greetings? What can be the answer? Letter C, maybe. You don't have to be like New Yorkers because you are in New York. No tienes que ser como otros neoyorquinos simplemente porque estás en Nueva York, ¿ok? Tú puedes ser como tú eres, nada más. Number 3, I can pick up my neighbor's Wi-Fi network and it's not secure. I want to use it so I don't have to pay for it. Is it right for me to use my neighbor's Wi-Fi? What about the answer? Is it right to do it? Maybe here, you must tell your neighbor this is the only right thing to do. Okay, so in number 1, we can change it to letter D. Because letter G goes better with the situation in number 3. And in this way, you can answer you can answer this exercise, guys, okay? As you can see in all of the paragraphs and the advice and the pieces of advice, you use modal verbs like you must tell your neighbor, you don't have to be like New Yorkers, you have to act with self-control, and I don't think you should confront him. Okay, in all of them, you have to give recommendations. So let's go to the next exercise. And in the next, you have, imagine you are going to write a message for the Times Modern Morals section. Think of a problem you have and write a brief message in which you describe what happened, how was involved, and ask for advice. This is an example. This is what you have to do in the forum, guys. So in the forum, you have to imagine you are going to write a message for the Times Modern Morals section. Remember, this section is in the newspaper, in the Times newspaper. You need to think of a problem you had and write a brief message in which you describe what happened, how was involved, and ask for advice. You have to ask for advice. Example, on October the 31st, 2006 at 12 a.m. the Times, I drove my girlfriend and her friend from London to Nottingham and asked the friend to pay £10 for petrol, to which she agreed. 2 months later, and after several gentle prompts, I have confronted her for the money. She's refusing to pay on the ground that we were going away and that she had already bought a train ticket. Who is right? So what does it says here? Dice, yo llevé a mi novia y su amiga de Londres a Nottingham y le pedí a la amiga pagar 10 libras por la gasolina y ella estuvo de acuerdo. 2 meses después, la tuve que confrontar por el dinero. Ella se niega a pagar. It says she's refusing to pay on the ground that we were going away and that she had already bought a train ticket. Who is right? Bueno, ella se negó a pagar porque dice que ya compró un boleto de tren. Entonces, ¿quién está bien? This is kind of situation that is a little bit confusing in my opinion. So you have to write any kind of problem that you have at the moment, guys. Maybe with a neighbor, with a friend, or maybe in the school, any kind of problem. Could be an economic problem or a school problem, but you can do it, guys. So what you have to do in order to ask for advice? To ask for advice, you can say, what should I do? And remember that last session we saw some vocabulary to make suggestions and to give advice. So do you have any question about this? Any question, guys?
No.
Not really? Okay. Well, this is just one forum. The second forum, and then we have other activity. This is a reading activity. It says culture shock. When people travel around their country or where they can face culture shock. But what culture shock mean? Have you ever had culture shock? So here we have a reading about cultural shock. This is just a reading activity. And then what about the next? And this is the last activity for your for the course, guys. So this is an activity of Unit 5. The last one. Imagine that some international students are coming to study to your university. One of them is starting with you. So you were asked to provide some advice for him and tell him about the rules you must bear in mind. You can you can check the publication 14 culture shocks that foreigners experience when they arrive in Mexico, and it's available here. Remember to use the vocabulary to express obligation, prohibition, and permission. So for obligation, remember we use have to, must, or it's obligatory or compulsory or mandatory to. And for prohibition, we say can't. Remember this, you are not permitted, mustn't, not allowed to. You can talk about advice like places to visit, study and phone balance and libraries. You can talk about punctuality, manners, good manners or bad manners, rules at home. And then it says, make a brief presentation that includes images, voice messages, and text. And here, guys, they also recommend sparkadobe.com to create your presentation. Upload it to your portfolio, a file containing your notes on the topic, and the link to your video presentation, okay? So you can do it as they recommend in the Spark Adobe. You can do it with that app. Or if you have another app for doing your video, it's okay. But remember that in PowerPoint, it can be sometimes a little difficult because it's very large. And sometimes you cannot upload it. So for the second activity of self-access center, I will send a reading for you to do, guys. I will send a reading. The reading is about also cultural shock so that you can have more vocabulary to talk about that. So any question, guys? Any question?
No.
No? Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, so remember, 2 activities. The forum activity is you describe a problem that you are dealing with at the moment and you ask for advice. And the second activity of Unit 5 is to give advice to people that are coming to Mexico for the first time. And that's it, guys. You have to use the modals, the modal verbs. So thank you very much, guys, for your attendance. And if you have any question, please let me know in WhatsApp, okay? Have a nice day.